Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the voice of FX Adventure, and of course I'm reaching you guys all the way from, you know what it is, planet Earth. On today's video we'll be looking at DXY as we normally do it right about here. Okay, so we are going to be looking at the DXY to gain an understanding of what's going on in the market. And also, before we close today's video towards the end, which I would urge you to sit back, relax and watch this video, we'll be looking at BTC on the daily time frame. We'll be using that to close off today's directional bias video. All right, with that said, let's head straight to the chart. All right, so just like we speculated on our last video that was posted yesterday, today is 7th May 2026, we had an understanding that DXY was looking for liquidity earlier yesterday, and of course throughout yesterday price dropped down all the way there, which is actually what we expected, and immediately price took out that liquidity there. We could point out how price decided to rally back up. All right, and for the guys that paid attention yesterday and for the guys that have been following my content, I pointed out yesterday that we are seeing some reversal coming in, but the only issue why I'm not jumping on it at the time I saw that was the fact that it wasn't entirely based off on my strategy. All right, and I remember I also said that the only time I recommend having an idea that the bullish trend is already in place is if we see price trading above the 200 exponential moving average. Okay, and that happened yesterday evening during the time we had that crossover, the 200 exponential moving average on DXY. At that time is not the time I normally trade in the market because we've already started entering the New York closing time, which will usher us into the Asian section, and momentum during those times are usually low, and that is why I did not partake in the activities here. All right, so with that said, that brings us in today's price action. I remember yesterday, like I said, that price was trying to buy back up at least until it taps into this gap. This is a gap. This is the day open gap that was created yesterday. All right, so that's the bias we had yesterday. But considering the market condition this morning, we might, have a different approach to it. All right, so there are two things that I am looking at currently. All right, so if we decide to keep our bias on the downside, let's say we want to assume that this sell will continue, one thing that is posing a little bit of a question mark on that is these two bottom right here. All right, you can see arguably we can say they are double bottom in as much as this guy broke this particular guy. Okay, but they are still close. We can arguably speculate it to be double bottom, and I wouldn't want a situation whereby I am either trying to sell towards a double bottom. All right, and another thing that I can see is we have two liquidity grab lying both above and below. All right, the first one here, which was the one that we anticipated that price would have taken out yesterday after grabbing all the liquidity that was down, and you can see price failed to get close to that point. We experienced some stall movement here, some sideways movement, and we can also categorically say that in this sideways movement we experienced here, which is some sort of an accumulation. All right, sideways movements are usually accumulation. All right, and you know the drill already. Immediately after an accumulation, the next thing that happens is this manipulation. Then of course this is what I expect this morning, at least on the short time. All right, and I think the first half of this move is already done. If you bring this here, you will see it on that green box there. You can see how the blue box traded out of it, now coming back towards it again. So I am of the opinion that this guy has accumulated. Let's get some manipulation, which is already in there. The next thing now is the extension. As far as I am concerned on that guy, I can also speculate that there is a gap there, and you can see that's the gap the price has been using as some sort of support to drive the market further up. Well, that's my opinion on DXY, and on today's price action for me on DXY, it's a little bit tricky because price is actually in the middle of two liquidity grabbers. All right, so we have this guy at the top and we have this guy at the bottom, which is the low price dropped yesterday. So what do we do? What do we envision? Well, for me, I am of the opinion that price might continue to sell off, but before that happens, I am of the opinion that this gap here will be utilized again. This true day open gap here might be utilized again. All right, and what do I mean by might be utilized again? What I mean is that we might experience price driving up this morning. Remember, we've already seen an accumulation here. The manipulation is downwards, so there is high tendency that price will continue to maybe do something like this, gradually coming into this true day gap, either reject from that point. All right, that's one thing we can look for, and price will start looking for, of course, the liquidity down there, or we can just see price trade up. Okay, take out the liquidity, that red line at the top. After taking it, then we can now see something like this, then continue going down. All right, so those are the expectations that I have this morning, but this is only based off on if price is still going to continue selling off. I think DXY has been selling off for quite a number of time now. If we look at the higher time frame, just to get more context out of it, I'll go to daily time frame just to show you guys what I mean. So if you look at it here, basically you can see DXY is actually it might actually be selling off, to be honest with you, because looking at it on the daily time frame, we can see that the trend is obviously in a bearish trend, because of course price is trading below the 200 exponential moving average. Also, if you come to the 4-hour time frame on the DXY, I'm going to remove this tool just to make my chart a little bit clean there. So here on the 4-hour time frame, same thing. You can see price is trading below the 200 exponential moving average, and you can see the double bottom that I'm pointing out. You see that low, you see the double bottom there. We have about 1, 2, 3 times price has been bouncing off from those levels. So I'm of the opinion maybe that bounce will take us back to this gap that would, you know, usher us into another bearish trend. But let's call it speed. Like I showed you guys, daily time frame, price is trading below the 200 exponential moving average. On the 4-hour time frame, price is trading below the 200 exponential moving average. Now let's touch base on the 1 hour. Same thing, price is trading below the 200 exponential moving average. So with that said, guys, I am of the opinion that price is still in a bearish trend, regardless of what we think price is doing here on the 5-minute time frame. So that is the hypothesis that I need to come to the conclusion that this price is still in a bearish trend, which will favor us to tilt towards waiting for price to come up. And once we start seeing reversal for the downside, of course, we'll be taking it to ride the market further down. That is the plan for DXY, and I hope you learned one or two just by spending a little bit of your time with us here. So our directional bias this morning is to see price trade up on DXY. We don't want them to buy, we just want them to trade up, you know, just to take out liquidities that we need them to take out. After taking out those liquidity, we are planning that we will experience the reversal after they either get to this previous day and through the opening gap, or price might just use any of these fair value gaps that was dropped here yesterday as a point of control, which they will use in reversing the market further down. So those are the expectations that I have on DXY. So I expect price to trade up anywhere in those boxes or rectangular lines you'll see there at the top. Anywhere around there, if I get a reversal setup pointing towards the downside, of course I will be partaking in the price action at that time. And of course, remember, like I told you guys, using DXY is some sort of using DXY to get an understanding of what the general market is doing at the time. We are not necessarily going to be trading DXY directly. We are using it to have an understanding of what's going on in the market. Then based off on the currency correlation, on how currency pairs interact with each other and react with each other, we will now pick a good buying setup on any of the major pairs: Euro USD, British Pound USD, Aussie Dollar USD, gold, etc, etc. All right, so that's exactly the plan for this morning. And yeah, remember the conditions I told you. First of all, we need price to go up, take out liquidity. After that, we'll look for a reversal setup. Once we get a reversal setup, of course, we'll be jumping on it. And because we came with that conclusion, we just didn't come up with it randomly. Remember, we went to the higher time frame, looked at it, have an idea what price is doing on the higher time frame. We looked at the daily time frame, 4-hour time frame, and also on the 1-hour time frame. Those are the 3 time frames we used, and in all those 3 time frames, of course, the price is actually trading below the 200 exponential moving average, which is an indicator or high indicator of a bearish market. So with that understanding, we are now bringing it down to the 5-minute time frame, and that's why we came with the conclusion that we should be expecting price to continue selling off. But we cannot just jump on it. We need to wait for price to give us some good setup, and also make sure that price has taken out some important liquidity levels we need price to take out before we jump on it. With that said, let's close up by looking at BTC, because I remember I promised you we'll be looking at BTC. Well, all we just want to look at BTC is just on the daily time frame. All right, so if we come here on the daily time frame, you can see that BTC currently is actually playing around the 200 exponential moving average on the daily time frame. As you can see it right there, that is it exactly right there. All right, so what do I mean? Well, I'm of the opinion that BTC still needs to sell off. I know some people are saying that BTC might have dropped the low and it's about to buy now. Well, I'm sorry to tell you guys that I am of the opinion that BTC is still going to sell off, and it's not casted on concrete, so don't take my word for it. But yeah, I'm of the opinion that BTC might want to sell off a little bit more, and yeah, we'll see how that's going to happen. And to be honest, if we can get BTC to sell off all the way down here, I know it's almost impossible. The price level there is actually 25k. If BTC can come towards that level, trust me, it will be a massive opportunity to rack up some position. But with that said, I'm not jumping on BTC right now. I think I would want a much more lower price level before I can engage. All right, with that said, guys, I hope you guys do have a wonderful day, and that is it for us on today's price analysis. All right, make sure you sit back, relax, because we do this every day. And of course, while price progresses today, I will also be updating you guys. With that said, I'll see you guys in my next video. For now, bye bye and stay safe out there. Happy trading, guys.